Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mitch Taco Bell. I'm your host with Tall Tales with Taco. And tonight, if we can get Ron's stuff working good, we're going to have an interesting conversation about the life of a contract ISR pilot. Now, what is that? It's kind of funny because back in the day, in the 90s, I was on recruiting duty as a young captain, and I flew around in this great airplane called a PA-31 Navajo. I think this was the straight Navajo, and that was the chieftain that I was able to cruise around. I would give young kids airplane rides in the Navajo, and I could hold 5 at a whack. So I would fly for about probably 5 or 6 hours a day, all across the Midwest. Any aviation school trying to entice these kids. They didn't know that I worked for the recruiting command. There were 6 of us in the nation that had this job of assistant aviation officer procurement. So it was a frigging awesome job. I mean, Notre Dame, I'd go to Parks College and University of North Dakota, and I mean, everywhere. It was a great time. But then fast forward, pilot with American, go into the reserves and pick a job over in Iraq. Well, the crazy thing was they go, what do you want? You know, as a reservist, it's a different story. Instead of being in a unit where they direct you, hey, you're going to do bill at X, Y, and Z, you actually had a little flexibility in what you wanted to choose. And in my case, I remember looking at the list of billets and I go, assistant battle captain. So I asked the monitor, what's the assistant battle captain do? He goes, I don't know. I go, well, that sounds pretty cool. Let's put that on the short list. And then air boss. What's the air boss do in Iraq? I guess he bosses airplanes around. Well, I've been on a carrier once. That sounds pretty cool. I'll do that. Put that up on the top. And then I made the grave mistake of he tried to give me a job in Tampa being the midnight watch officer. And I go, yeah, that's not going to work. I feel like Patton. If I'm going to go to war, I want to be with Marines in Iraq. I don't want a purple hat job. I want to be with my Marines. And I left that email up on my computer. My wife happened to go get some stamps out of the desk and read the email and found out that I was not involuntarily recalled and that I had volunteered to go to Iraq with a young 14-month-old baby and another one just born. It went over like a pregnant pole vaulter. So I never suggest you ever do that with your spouse. That was the last time we had that conversation. And I got to say, I love you, honey, because you always supported me for all my selfish intentions of serving with the boys. So I love her so much for that. But anyway, I go to Iraq, and when I show up, my billet goes away. And they stash me at the base tower at Al-Assad, Camp Cupcake, where I am the assistant operations guy for the base, for the airfield. And one day I'm sitting there looking at PPRs, and I get this message from a company called AirScan, and they say, hey, we're looking to land at Al-Assad. We need gas. We need this, that. And it's a PA-31. And I emailed the guy back right away. And I go, you know, what are you guys doing in Iraq? What the hell are you doing with a PA-31 Navajo, which, of course, looks like that. And I said, what are you guys doing in Iraq with Navajo? And he writes me back and says, who the hell are you to know what a Navajo is? Because most Marine aviators, unless they're civilian pilots, would never have a clue. But that started a friendship with Doc Holloway, and I actually was looking at possibly leaving my job if something happened and becoming a contract guy, overflying Navajos. He offered me a job. It was a great deal. I don't know if we're going to get him on the video. I'm trying. Let's see. Doc?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you turn the computer so we can see you?
I'm trying to, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I can or not.
Well, I see a chair. Can you move the chair so we can see you?
Let's see. That chair. What chair is it? Yeah.
Yeah, I see a brown chair. I can see a bicycle in the background. So whatever direction that computer is facing, just rotate the computer towards you, Doc. I know you can do this. You're a
Okay.
Marine. I have faith.
Okay.
Either that or you're trying to be sneaky. Secret
Let me,
squirrel stuff.
let me
Just
see what I can do. Yeah.
just grab the computer and turn it, Doc. You can do it. I know it.
don't work.
Doc, you're not even moving the computer. Come on, Bubba.
I'm
Move.
sorry about that.
You can do it. Move the computer. Walk around. I'll tell you what, walk around your desk until I tell you to stop.
Let me turn it back on. Let me see if I can turn it back on. Hold on just a minute.
No, your video is working. I just want you to walk around your table so I can see you and my guests can see you.
No.
All my people watching this can actually watch the great Doc Holloway. Come on, walk around your table. Just get up and walk around the table, and I'll tell you to stop. And then you can grab that chair, the rocking chair, and sit right there.
Okay. Stand by. Stand by.
All right, we're standing by.
Okay.
Now, I haven't seen Doc in years. I mean, this is 2005 when we first met, August, September. Probably, yeah, it was August of 2005 up at Al Assad. Oh, he can do it. Doc, you just turned the camera off. Hey, Doc, you just turned the camera off.
Did I? Okay.
Yeah, you did. How old are you now, Doc? I'm sorry, folks. This is kind of funny, actually.
How about now?
No, we can't see you, Doc, but that's all right. Listen, I'll just talk to you.
Okay.
If you figure out how to push that little button down at the bottom, it says start camera, then we'll be able to see you.
Okay.
Do you see the little button down there on your screen?
Yep.
All right. Click on that.
Let's see.
Okay, I'll tell you what, Doc, we're just going to go with this. I don't have to see you, and I know you probably got your secret squirrel BS going. But so everybody can see, there's a picture of Doc and I at Al Assad back in Iraq in 2005. And if you push your video camera, we'll be able to see you. Back in that day, I've got a picture of you. You used to fly. Let's start out that. How did you get into a T-38?
I was a Marine in the early or late 60s and early 70s, and the Navy couldn't put out as many pilots as they needed in Vietnam. So
Right.
they sent a lot of us to the Air Force to train in fighters.
Really? Not many guys got to do that.
Pardon?
And then what did you get to fly when you went to Vietnam? Was it the OV-10 first?
Well, I flew the in the Air Force. I flew the T-41, T-37, and the T-38, and then I was in the OV-10s, and then T-2s as a flight instructor, and went to Harriers after that. And
Yep, I got a picture of the old AV-8As. That's an old one, man. Those are
AV-8As,
lawn darts.
back a long time ago. Yeah, they were lawn darts.
Yeah, and so when did you retire out of the Marine Corps?
I retired in 1991 after 23 and a half years.
Yep, that's when I got my wings in 91. So fast forward, your brother was an Air Force pilot, right?
My what?
Your brother?
Brother.
Your brother?
No.
Oh, then who started AirScan? I thought it was your brother that started AirScan in '84.
No, it was a couple of the guys that started AirScan. We started over at the Cape Canaveral, flying security for the Cape before the launches and stuff like that.
Oh wow! How far out would you have to go for that off the coast?
Pardon?
How far out would you have to fly off the coast?
Not very far. We were just flying over the Cape just to look with our cameras to see what was going on down there.
Ah. And what kind of airplanes were you guys using at that time?
Cessna 337s at that time.
So I
But
think,
we did, yeah, there you go. But we did fly off the coast about 175 miles out to sea when SpaceX was first practicing their landing of the first stage on the ship, and it crashed a couple times and didn't make it. So we came home.
so you guys just flew around, you watched it crash, and then came back.
Yeah.
Were you all trying to keep drones and stuff out of the area?
Pardon?
Were you trying to keep drones or private pilots out of the launch area?
No, we were just out there watching the launch, or trying to watch the launch, or not watch the launch, but watch the landing on the ship.
Oh, okay. And they pay you to do this.
And the all the SpaceX engineers were all little youngster guys. I mean, they were in their 20s and 30s. It's kind of like, hey, and they all came into our place, and we met and went out and did our thing, and yeah, had a good time.
What year was this?
Oh, 2014-ish, 13-ish, something like that.
Okay. And so when we met in '05, AirScan was a civilian ISR platform. You guys were one of the first ones that I knew about
Yep,
flying over missions in Iraq.
yep,
Um,
yep.
were you a part of what was it, Task Force 187, looking for Zarqawi?
I don't know if the task force or not. I was flying. We were flying for the U.S. Army. We were on contract with the U.S. Army and flying for a number of different outfits, black ops, white ops, uh, free agency letter type guys and stuff like that. So we did it all.
Well, I remember when I met you, and I've got this picture of us standing there. You had Marine trousers on, and you had a 45 on your hip. And I remember looking in the Navajo, and you had an AK-47 and another. You had an M4 or something on the other side, and your the other guy was in a pair of cutoff shorts, um, tennis shoes, or something like that. I mean, it was 130 degrees out, so it was pretty hot. And I know the AC probably didn't work well in the Navajo. But do you remember? You remember you needed help. You needed a hangar for setting up a base ops at Al Assad, and
Yes.
I got you. I was like, yeah, man, we can make this happen. We got the CBs to spray out an old hangar that was out there, and then clean that out with all the dust and crap, and then get you and the airplane settled in there, and we got you billeting a car. Well, you were a happy camper, weren't you?
Yep. Yep. We had a good time during that period. We came into Al Assad and lasted about 3 months there, I think, and then the mission was done, so we left.
And where else did you fly out of?
We were in Baghdad, Al Assad, Talafar, Talil, Kirkuk, and Basra, and Talafar, I think. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this: if you got shot down, who was coming to get you?
Hmm?
If you got shot down, or you had an engine separate on you and you were going down, who was tasked with coming to rescue your crew?
We were in direct contact with the Tactical Operations Center, the Army Tactical Operations Center, with our camera, and our talking, and we carried a a army guy in the right seat so he could call in airstrikes on bad guys, and so if we went down, they would kind of get us. One of my guys ran out of gas and landed on the road about there, about 15 miles west of Kirkuk, and he couldn't take off until the morning. We took some gas out to him. He couldn't take off until the morning. It was it was good times.
I don't know if that was a good time. I don't know if I'd count that as a good time by myself out in Indian territory.
Yeah, no, yeah, been there, done that.
Yeah, and I remember you telling me a time some guys were shooting at you. You were tracking some bad guys, and they would stop occasionally and try to shoot at you with a machine gun with a 30 cal. Tell that story.
Yeah, they would stop, about six of them, 6 or 7. They would stop and they'd go in the trunk and take out a 30 cal machine gun and shoot at us, pop, 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 pop. But we were too high, for them to hit us, so it
Yeah,
didn't matter. And we finally called in a helicopter to come in, and they shot the guys. Boom! I hit them with a Hellfire missile, and I think two of the guys jumped into the creek and swam away, but the other 4 or 5, they met them 72 virgins.
yeah. And where would they put you guys up normally as contractors? Did you get to stay on base, or did you have to stay up at different larger airports?
We had what?
Where did you normally stay when you all would go into theater? Would you stay with the Marines
We were
or
on most
Army?
Air Force bases.
Mhm.
Talil, Talafar, Baghdad, Kirkuk, um, and all that stuff. So it
Yeah.
was mostly Army Air Force bases.
And AirScan's still going on today, isn't it?
No, we shut down. The boss died, and the company kind of shut down. So it's no longer in operation.
Oh, really? Because I saw the website. I wasn't sure
Yeah.
that they were still doing stuff.
It,
But the how long did you do contract work for AirScan?
oh, about 12 years. I did a I did a tour in Macedonia, flying up into Kosovo for the
Mhm.
NATO alliance up there, and then we went down to Iraq and was there for 8 years.
Wow. But you had an apartment in Yemen or somewhere? I mean, where would you used to transfer back and forth from Iraq to some other place? Where did you live somewhere else?
I had the wife and I bought apartments in Aqaba on the Red Sea,
Hmm.
down at the south end of Jordan, and
Hmm.
we had lived there for 2 or 3 years, 2007 to 2008ish, or 2006 to 2008ish. Uh, and I would fly back and forth. They gave me an airplane that I could fly home and back, from back to work. So
Would you pick your guys up who are doing rotations now? If I remember right, the deal was 3 months on, 3 months off. Was that correct?
we were about that, something about 3 months, and I'd fly out to Amman 3 times a week, take the guys out, bring the
Hmm.
guys back. Um, it was about a 6 hour troop each time, um, and I would take an MRE with me and put it up on the dashboard of the airplane,
Hmm.
where it would warm up by the time of noon. So I was able to eat it, and then throw it out in the western desert of Iraq. So here you go, have some of this.
Did you have any issues carrying your guns into Jordan, or were you exempt? Or did you have to leave your weapons when you flew over
Um,
there?
I, I took an AK-47 automatic into Jordan one time,
Uh-huh.
but then took it out. I was going to put it in my take home stuff, but I decided, nah, better not do that. So I took it back into Iraq and gave it to another company that was there.
Well, I mean, if you had an engine, I had an engine prop shaft shear on the Navajo once. It was me, my boss. I mean, the guy weighed buck 65 wet. September, it was warm, half tanks of gas, and the prop shaft shear and the blades went flat on the left engine. And thank God it was counter rotating, or we really would have been shafted. And I had to put it down in an emergency landing. So that kind of stuff happens all the time on small civilian twins. And they always say the second engine just gets you to the crash site that much faster. But did you guys have any incidents besides running out of gas? Like what happened? What happened to him? He never did that again, did he?
Well, I had two engine failures. One on the way into Kirkuk, and we shut it down and went in okay. And one, I flew back into Balad, or not Balad, but your place,
Mm-hmm.
and landed and taxied over to the old hangar that we had. Shut it down, let it cool down, started it back up, and it started. So hey, we'll take off and go back to Kirkuk. So yeah,
Did you have a mechanic come look at it? No.
no. Well, I got there and he looked at it obviously, but
Right.
yeah, so that was problems. But I flew one time the minister of oil from Baghdad up to yeah, somewhere up north, and dropped him off and flew back down. Lost an engine on takeoff, but it started back up again, so I took on off. And then I went back to Bag or to Kirkuk, and the guy looked at it and said, "Ah, you blew a cylinder." So okay, but I've got to go back and pick up this guy. So I flew back on two engines that I was able to start, and 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 took him back to Baghdad. So we're real good on that.
You 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 like messing around with guys. You took a bunch of special ops guys in your plane once. I remember you talking about that. You had to load it up with a bunch of crates of things, and these guys climb over the crates, and you get in there, and you've got a guy sitting in the right seat, and he looks over at you and says, "Hey, man, how old are you?"
Yeah, the guy asked that, "How old are you?" I said, "Well, I'm about 55 at the time." And he said, "Well, what if we have a heart attack?" I said, "Well, we're effed."
You're dead. You're all dead. I hope that guy took some flying lessons.
Unless
Did
you
he
can
go?
fly, unless you can fly, we're effed.
Well, I mean, it's a dangerous job, and what I kind of alluded to that. I remember researching your company at the time because I thought the offer was pretty good. It was like 200 and it was like either 200 or $250,000 a year, and that was essentially for about 6 months worth of work. And had a long discussion with my wife about what if I left the airline? Maybe I could take a leave of absence. I looked into that, and you would lose all the seniority, and I thought, nah. But at the time, I believe at my airline, because of the pay cuts, I was making maybe 60 grand a year, or just it was horrible time. So the money was very enticing. But I do remember there were some guys that ended up in prison down in South America. Did they got caught? Something happened? Did they ever get out?
And, um,
In Latin America, Colombia, somewhere, some guys ended up,
no,
AirScan employees ended up.
um, I don't know. I think they landed down there somewhere in Colombia or something other in a long time ago, but I don't I don't recall that very well.
Yeah. Well, you guys also are flying into just some very dangerous areas. And in the military, we always had this SOFA agreement, status of forces agreement. So, SOFA, SOFA, yeah. And there's nothing for you if you happen to have something go wrong. The government's not going to come bail you out, are they?
Probably not. Probably not. Although and we were in Kosovo flying for NATO and working for the army, and then
Uh-huh.
we were in Iraq flying and for the army. So I figured somebody would come get us.
Well, at the time we had our UAVs. The Marines had our UAVs. We had the Predators from Balad, and then we had you guys flying around as well. The airspace must have been, pretty crowded when you think about it.
Oh, it was. I mean, over Baghdad. When I first got there, you had to spiral down overhead, a spiral down, and
Uh-huh.
spiral up to get out of there without getting shot by a rocket or something. But it was you never knew where everybody was in that spiral down. So I've been narrowly missed 3 or 4 times in that process.
That's no fun. And how long were your missions? Usually at night or during the day?
Yeah, well, we mostly at night. I flew over Baghdad at night with all the predators and everybody else that was up there. So it was, 1,000 feet, 500 feet, 1,000 feet, 500 feet, 1,000 feet, that thing and stacked up. So you never knew, you never knew where they all were.
Right.
I mean, there were hundreds of them up there. So,
Well, this is a picture of one of your AirScan 337s. How old is that airplane right there?
731. Yeah, 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 yeah. I did that.
And so this airplane, you guys put flares on it and camera systems?
Yeah, on the left wing, the camera system, like
Hmm.
the AC 130.
Right.
The cameras on the left wing, and you do all your left turns. It's always a left circuit when you're flying around over any Indian territory and stuff and looking for guys.
Yeah, there's no air conditioning in that either, is there?
Huh, no air conditioning. No, you
Oh
open
my
the
God.
windows.
Yeah, but it's 130 degrees in the daytime. What kind of,
Yeah.
performance did you guys, no wonder you had to fly at night, right?
Yep.
Yeah, not like a
Well,
turbine.
huh?
Not like having a good turbine.
Yep, that's right. It's kind of like the day I took those guys off from Baghdad when I was pumping the throttle when he said, "How old are you?" Excuse me. Uh, so kind of he got the big eye, you know,
12,000 feet of runway. You're happy for that though.
and dropped him off at Talabar. And I said, "Hey, can I come pick you back up?" No, 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 no. We're good. We'll get OC 130 back.
Oh God, yeah. Well, you know, Iraq too was dangerous in terms of the weather. Here's a picture out of my control tower looking at the dark tower where the general was, and the airfield is just past that. And within a few hours, it looked like that.
Ooh,
So, you know, you get the sandstorms that come in. Um, did you guys ever get stuck somewhere? Were you able to make it in? Did you have PARs? How did you get in?
well, um, mostly we would get away from it and land before it came.
Hmm.
I got stuck out once or twice. Once when um, Balad got stormed in, and another time when when Talifar got messed up. Excuse
Yeah,
me.
it can get crazy. That's for sure.
I did a 00 landing into Talifar with my he was a mechanic, my co-pilot. I said, and it was the Army, so they didn't really, they weren't Air Force, so they didn't really care what the hell we were doing. So they said, I said, hey, can I spiral down and see if I can find the runway? Yeah, go for it. So we spiraled down, and we got down to maybe 200 feet, and it was flat desert. So I'd been there a long time, so I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
I knew the terrain. So we got down, and he said, "Oh, there it is, there it is, there's a runway." I said, "Oh, keep it in sight." So I came around, spiraled down, and landed. And the tower guys were, "Oh my goodness, how to do that?" And when I went up, went up to our upper ops building, the guys were kind of like, "How did you do that?" Uh, yeah, I had a good co-pilot.
Did you have GPS in those airplanes that you're able to? Well, I'm sure you did. So you could extend off the center line for the runway and use that.
Yeah,
Oh, pretty good. And you said you retired in 2014 from AirScan?
it was something like that. 2014, 2015. We went over
Yeah.
to Baghdad again in 2014 with the boss, the president, and
Hmm.
met with the general staff of the Iraqi Air Force at Baghdad. They were they had what the C-21s, whatever, uh, and they wanted to know how to operate them. So we were going to teach them, but then the boss said, "No, we're not going to do that anymore." So okay.
What's it? What is a C-21? I'm not familiar with that.
Uh, it was I say C-21. It was uh, the uh, the the Piper twin uh, engine. What do you call it? Yeah, yeah, something like that. Twin
All right.
engine. Yeah,
Twin engine something Piper.
yeah.
C-21. I just not familiar with that airplane. I'll have
Okay,
to look that up.
not a C
Look that
21.
up when we get off.
Yeah.
Well, Doc, I'm sorry your video doesn't work, so the world can see your smiling face. They can actually see him right there on the left side, and that was, like I said, August of 2005. I thought it would be interesting, but I remember telling my wife, you know, it's a lot of money. It's dangerous. You get shot down, you're kind of out in bad guy territory till maybe the QRF can get to you if they're not occupied.
Yeah.
And the war's not going to last forever. I remember thinking that the GWAT money's got to dry up sometime, you know. But there are companies out here. I have a good friend that's at L3 down in Greenville, and they fly King Airs. doing
Yeah.
manned ISR
That's
stuff.
what it was. It was a King Air special ops airplane.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, my friends down there, they actually have hired a lot of my helicopter friends and Marine friends that were looking to build flight time before they came over to the airlines, and so they would do 6 month tours over in Afghanistan, flying manned ISR out of Afghanistan.
Yeah.
There in Kabul. So pretty good deal for them.
Well,
Uh,
I was making $1,000 a day the last year or so on the job.
wow. Yeah, that's pretty good money. I mean, unless you get shot down, caught, and captured by the bad guys,
We caught
then
a
I
bunch
guess,
of bad guys.
yeah, at least you got to get the bad guys. That's for sure. Well, Doc, I tell you what, I'm going to sign you off and say goodbye to the folks. I appreciate you coming on tonight. And hopefully you're down in Florida somewhere, maybe on a layover in the near future. I can hook up with you.
Yes, sir.
All right,
Have a
Doc.
good
You
one.
have a great one. Take care. Wow. Okay. Sorry. I couldn't get him to spin the computer around. I think that was a factor of he didn't want to be on camera. I kind of wish I could have seen his face because he's a fun guy. Folks, thanks for joining me. And next week, I actually have a great interview coming up. I have Chris Cassidy, Navy SEAL astronaut, and it's going to be a pre-taped interview. That was the only time that I could actually get with him. So I hope you enjoy it. If you ask some questions of Chris, unfortunately, he won't be live to hear it, but feel free to join in and check it out, and then leave some comments, and I'll try to get the comments over to um, Chris. Guys, thank you so much. Once again, I appreciate you. Tall Tales with Taco Bell. I just had the 100th show last week. If you didn't get a chance to see it, I really appreciate Freddie, Joe, Scott, John Ceta, and Josh Baton coming on the show. That was a fantastic deal. If you get a chance to go back and watch that, I think you will really enjoy that show. We've got a whole list of people coming up. I'm excited to start season 4 in just a few months and working one show at a time. So, March, I appreciate your help trying to get me signed up with some really cool folks. And for the rest of you that keep sending me some interesting folks to interview, I will jump on that as soon as I can. Until I see you all next week, adios, hasta luego, auf Wiedersehen. Tschüss, shesheni, au revoir, domrigato gozaimasu, tano shinde kurasai, ciao, arrivederci. Tashakur, Assalamu alaikum, salam, mahala, and that's for Nastastorovia. Now that's to drink. Anyway, you guys have a good one. Take care.